Football is a simple game. Bump, set, spike. If you want to succeed, it's all about moving your feet. That's what will help you pass it better, set it higher, attack it quicker, hit it harder, dig deeper. But for all that to happen, you have to move your feet.
Soccer is an incredible team sport that requires 11 individuals to work together to move the ball up the field. Scoring, winning games, and championships doesn't happen if you don't move your feet. You have to move your feet.
Basketball is a game of strategy. It doesn't matter how tall or strong you are, you can't make the play to defeat without first moving your feet. You have to move your feet.
Track and field is a sport of speed, endurance, strength, technique, and most importantly, determination. You will never be your fastest or your strongest self if you don't start by moving your feet. You have to move your feet.
Cross country is a sport of determination. You have to face all kinds of weather and all kinds of very difficult terrain. In order to do that, you have to move your feet. There's no denying that footwork is one of the most important aspects of tennis. Good footwork can help you get to any ball, regardless of where it falls on the court. In order to be a dominant tennis player, you have to move your feet.
Move your feet. Each and every Spartan coach stressed its importance. In this gym, on court, on the track, success is dependent on moving your feet. Relay for Life is no different. The success of our Relay for Life is dependent on all of you to do just that. Move your feet. Move your feet for Stanistreet.
On behalf of the organizing committee of this year's Relay for Life, I would like to welcome everyone to the gym for our kickoff rally. Relay is an opportunity to celebrate, remember, and fight back. This assembly is a chance to do the same. We get to celebrate our accomplishments over the past 22 years. We get to remember those who are battling cancer, and it is our hope that at the conclusion of this assembly, every one of you will want to fight back. We truly have a lot to be proud of when we look at our Relay for Life legacy. Way back in 2001, before any of us were born, St. John hosted its first event, the first high school in the province to do so. It became a Spartan tradition, never missing a year, even during the pandemic. Along the way, our small-town high school has raised an amazing $879,000 for the Canadian Cancer Society. The crazy part is that we keep getting smaller as a school, our accomplishments keep getting bigger. It says a lot about our school. During the pandemic, when many activities were shut down, we didn't give up. Last year, when we were allowed to return to the track and host large group activities again, no one really knew how it would go. Would the Spartan Army still have its fight? Last year, we set a record, beating our previous best fundraising effort by over $11,000 and raised over $73,000. That is a lot of reason to celebrate. I hope that the message is clear to anyone who has ever had to deal with cancer or knows someone who has, and in particular to Aaron Stanistreet, that St. John Catholic High School won't give up on you.
I will fight I will fight for you. I always do until my heart is black and blue. And I will stay. I will stay with you. We'll make it to the other side like others do. I'll reach my hands out in the dark and wait for yours to enter with you. I'll wait for you. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up no night. Even when I'm down the left, even when they say nothing. So don't give up. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up no me. Even when nobody else believes, I'm not gonna believe. So don't give up on me. Now, oh, I hold on to you. No matter what throws, I won't shake it loose. I'll reach my hands out in the dark and wait for yours to enter with you. I'll wait for you. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up no night. Even when I'm down the last, even when they say nothing. So don't give up. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up no me. Even when nobody else believes, I'm not gonna believe. So don't give up. I will fight. I will fight for you. I always do until my heart is black and blue.
Although the St. John community have been champions in this fight against cancer, it does not make us immune to its wrath. In recent years, we have dedicated our relay event to students Tyler Lico and Connor William Forsyth, and this year is no different. Aaron Stanistreet is yet another reason why events like ours are of vital importance. So while we can take pride in our past, we are reminded that we must continue to fight in the future. We need to fight for our own. We need to move our feet for Stanistreet. It is our hopes that at the conclusion of this assembly, every member of our school community is inspired to participate in our 22nd relay event on Friday, June 9th. When the assembly ends today, members of the organizing committee will be standing at the exit doors of the gymnasium with permission forms. In order to sign up for the event, you need to return the permission form with $20. Starting tomorrow, you can return your permission form and $20 to the table in front of the office at lunchtime. We ask that all permission forms are returned by Wednesday, May 10th. When you return your form, you'll be given an envelope to fundraise. This year, they may collect funds online, in cash or check, or a combination of both. We ask that all Spartans raise a minimum of $100 in order to attend the event. For 21 years, students just like us have been taking on this fundraising initiative. It isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. So where does all the money go? Who better to explain that than a member of the Canadian Cancer Society? At this time, I'd like to give a big St. John's welcome to Dylan Buscamon. Not only does Dylan help high schools all over the province organize and run Relay for Life events, he is also a cancer survivor himself. We are very fortunate that Dylan is able to join us today to share his journey with us and to let us know why the efforts we make are so important.
Hi everyone. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to work with amazing schools like St. John and to be here today. To see the amazing turnout, the amazing work with the organizing committee, and the staff advisors and all the people here involved with Relay. I think you all deserve a big round of applause. So first and foremost, congratulations. So I have the privilege of working at the Canadian Cancer Society, working specifically with amazing schools like yours. But I'm also involved with a lot of the amazing work, the amazing research and advocacy programs that the Canadian Cancer Society is involved in. So whether it's funding clinical research trials, of which Canada is a leader, notably a little close to home is the Kingston Cancer Clinical Research Trials organization, which funds really global leading research in cancer care and cancer research. But we also have the privilege of funding volunteer programs like the Wheels of Hope program that drives patients to and from their treatments, peer support programs that myself and many others have used to create connections with people affected by cancer across Canada and establish new friends, new family members who are going through similar experiences. So the Canadian Cancer Society has lots of arms and lots of ways it's affecting people who are living with cancer and living beyond cancer in Canada. But my experience with the CCS with cancer first started when I was actually just a student like you guys. I was in my second year at Queen's University, and it was right in the middle of my exam season in December of 2016 when I noticed a small lump on my neck, about the size of a gumball. And at the time, not having ever broken so much as a bone, I didn't think too much of it and continued on with definitely not procrastinating my exams, right guys? So I went on with my student life, with my regular day-to-day, and as I did, that lump on my neck grew from about the size of a gumball to close to the size of a golf ball, and was starting to impede my day-to-day life. And so that's when I knew I needed to get it checked out. And so in between balancing school and social life and extracurriculars, with now daily trips to the hospital to undergo scans, blood work, and biopsies, eventually I received a diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of blood cancer. And to me, being 19 at the time, I heard blood cancer, and I immediately got really scared because blood is everywhere in your body, so I thought that can't be a good thing for my diagnosis. What my doctor told me was that due to all of the research that, in part, you're funding with Relay for Life, actually Hodgkin's lymphoma was considered a very treatable type of cancer. And that after 6 months of chemotherapy and 2 months of radiation, I would be back on my way to school, living my normal life again. And so with that, I left school. I went back home and started chemotherapy treatment. And right away, I noticed my life take a turn. I had lost my hair, I had gained a lot of weight due to the medication that I was on, and feeling really sick every single day. And that continued for about 3 months into my treatment. It was about halfway through my treatment. I went into my chemotherapy appointment at the halfway mark with my family and my friends in tow. I had the new Nintendo Switch at the time with me to play video games and get me through what was going to be a long day at the hospital. And so I sat down feeling extremely low, feeling extremely sad and sick. And that was when I turned to my left, and me and my mom, who was there with me, noticed a woman who was older than me, but exactly the opposite. She was bright, she was joyful, she was energetic, and she was sharing that energy with the people in the hospital, primarily me and my mom who were sitting next to her. And what she told us was that she didn't have any of the resources or the good prognosis that I did. She didn't have people to take her to and from her treatments or family and friends to talk to her after every appointment. But what she did have was the Canadian Cancer Society and resources like the volunteer driving program, like those peer support programs, and like clinical trials to make the prognosis better. And so that caused a real point of reflection for me because here I was, 19 years old, the whole world in front of me and all the resources I could ever want at my fingertips. And this woman was giving me a school lesson in how to embrace positivity, how to be joyful and bright in the face of adversity. And so that was something that really inspired me to not only make it through the rest of my treatment, be declared cancer-free at the end of 2017, but then get involved with Relay for Life and the Canadian Cancer Society. So in 2018, I attended my first Relay for Life at my school, wearing that iconic yellow survivor shirt. And then in 2018 and 2019, I was actually on the organizing committee, just like St. John here, for Queen's University to organize my Relay for Life at that school. And I was so inspired because of these experiences and because of the people I met and the difference I was making, that I wanted to get involved even more with the Canadian Cancer Society. And luckily enough, I was able to apply, and I'm in the job today that I have, getting to work with inspiring schools like yourself, amazing organizing committees, and seeing the difference you're making today. And I usually say that, that's where I wish my story would end. It sounds very nice. But unfortunately, in February of 2020, right as the pandemic was starting, I was diagnosed with a relapse of my cancer. So that meant going back into treatment, back into more intensive chemotherapy, and this time going in for surgeries that would leave me in the hospital for up to 4 weeks at a time. And it was during these times when me and my fellow patients were more isolated than ever, experiencing more intense treatments than ever. I looked to people like you, to schools like yourself that inspired me in my work and continued to inspire me in my treatment. So as I was sitting in hospital beds, in surgeries and chemotherapy for the duration of 2020 and 2021, I was looking to schools like St. John's, who were making efforts to host events during the pandemic, who were bringing awareness to Relay for Life and the Canadian Cancer Society. And so I know that for me and many others like myself, you guys were absolutely the number one source of inspiration for us going through treatment and knowing that we had people cheering for us on the other side of the hospital walls. So I want to thank you so much for that. I'm happy to report that as of December 2021, I was declared cancer-free and since have stayed there and was able to come back to work doing the work that we loved so much in January of this year, and I'm back to some time for relay season. So I'm so happy to be able to celebrate that with you. I'd also like to celebrate too, if I could get Mr. Peters to come up and accept a fundraising milestone plaque. Now, this is a bit out of date, it's $750,000 because you guys just keep raising so many amazing Relay for Lives, but I want to invite you guys to come up and accept this and to give yourself another huge round of applause for the amazing work today. So again, thank you and congratulate you. Thank you for having me here today, for listening about the Canadian Cancer Society and about my experience with cancer up until now. So I'll throw it over to you guys again, but thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here today, Jonathan, and for sharing your story with us. We know that you have a busy few months ahead of you during relay season, so we are very grateful you could be here today to inspire us. Sadly, Dylan is just one of the many Canadians who have had their lives drastically altered by cancer. On average, 641 people will be diagnosed with cancer each day in Canada. 233 Canadians will die from cancer every single day. Those numbers are staggering, but they're just numbers, right? Dylan's story is scary, but you only just met him, right? After this assembly, many of you will never see him again. A real fact is that this horrible disease does affect people in this gym. Later in this assembly, it will be clear just how many of us have been affected by cancer. Sometimes people fight in silence. Some of you know Olivia Tizik as an incredibly smart, quiet girl in class, and some of you will no doubt be in awe watching grade 7 student Jake Tizik handle a puck. Both of them let their success speak for them. I doubt any of you know how strong they really are. Their mom, Alicia, is here today to share her story, a story that impacted our Spartan family. Please welcome Alicia Tizik.
Oh, I said I wasn't going to cry, Maggie, but that intro brought a tear to my eye. My story is very similar to Dylan's, and I'll just start by saying when I was first diagnosed, a fellow survivor had told me and reached out saying that cancer is like a roller coaster that you never really get off of. And you'll see as I share my story the ups and downs that you face when you're going through cancer and even after when you're in remission. Back in November of 2018, I still remember the day, it was a Tuesday on the 6th. I was working, I'm an RN at the Perth Hospital. I was working a 12-hour shift and I was orientating someone. And I always wear 2 necklaces. And I was standing waiting for something fiddling with my necklace. And I felt a lump right here on my collarbone, about the size of a marble. And it was firm and non-tender. And I had no other lumps or bumps anywhere. Probably given my medical background, my spidey senses kind of started going off. And I knew I hadn't been sick or not feeling unwell. I talked to a coworker and she suggested that I go downstairs to the Emerge on my lunch break and have it looked at. So I kind of trotted down there talking to my fellow coworkers in Emerge. A doc that I know came over and looked at it. He wasn't too concerned, but I did stress to him the fact that I hadn't been sick, and but sometimes people get raised lymph nodes for no reason at all. He decided to do a chest x-ray. So I went off for the x-ray, came back, was standing in the middle of Emerge talking to a friend, and I could see him looking at the x-ray, and I could tell there was something up. He came over to me and said that there was a small nodule showing up in my lung, and that he wasn't really sure, that it could be just an early sign of infection, but he was going to talk to the radiologist about it. I went back upstairs to resume my shift, and a short while later he came up and sought me out, and as soon as I saw him, I knew there was something up. He said that I needed to go for an urgent CT scan. I felt like my world kind of all of a sudden came to a halt. I went home, I told my husband in tears, and my parents. I waited 2 days till Thursday, and then I had my CT. Afterwards, I was given the result that I had several enlarged lymph nodes within my chest and then a node in my lung. They felt it was most likely cancer, but were unsure if it was lymphoma or lung. I was terrified that it was lymphoma, just for the same reason that your lymph nodes go through your whole body. And what does this mean? I was very lucky in that within a few days I got an appointment at the Kingston Cancer Clinic. And within 3 weeks I had a biopsy, a CT scan, an MRI of my brain, and a PET scan. And I was in seeing my oncologist and had an appointment for my first chemo. 3 weeks, that's pretty amazing to be able to have all that. As much as probably they were some of the toughest times of my life, I felt lucky that I was on the road to recovery. See, when you're first told that you have cancer, it's the unknown that you don't really know. Am I going to survive this? What type of cancer do I have? How bad is the chemo going to be? How is it going to affect my kids? Am I still going to be able to work? It's all the unknown that is terrifying. Once I had a plan in place, I felt much better. My oncologist too told me that Hodgkin's lymphoma was very treatable. I was diagnosed with stage 4 because I had metastasized into my lung. But I was given an 80% chance of recovery. All the fundraising and money and cancer research that we do here gives those statistics to patients and makes them feel hope and that they can get through this. I started my chemo and it was for 6 months. I too struggled with some nausea, I lost my hair, fatigue, but overall I was able to survive the symptoms and treat them. One of the most positive parts is that at the Perth Hospital we have a chemo transfusion room that's a satellite site with Kingston. So after my first chemo treatment in Kingston, I was able to have the remainder of my treatments in Perth, which was great because I was able to maintain my independence. And I felt like I was going on living as normal life as I could. I could get my kids off to school in the morning, drive myself to chemo, have my 6-hour chemo treatment, and then be home in time to see the kids home and make dinner. Maintaining a sense of normalcy was really important to me. After 6 months of treatment and chemo, I was told that I was in remission. And I wasn't surprised at all. I never thought for a minute that I wasn't going to be in remission in the summer. We celebrated, of course, and were extremely happy, but I was ready to move on. I went back to work almost immediately. I took a new job as charge nurse on the second floor, a busy, stressful job, and I moved on. We all moved on. After about 6 months, I was at a follow-up appointment in February. It was just a routine appointment. The nurse came in, asked me, do you have any new lumps or bumps? And I said no, and she walked out of the room. But then I kind of thought, I actually don't remember if I checked recently. So just out of pure habit, I reached up to my collarbone, the same little spot, and sure enough, there was a bump there. And I knew right away what it was. So back to the scans and tests and biopsies, and sure enough, I was in relapse. Except this time, it was in more lymph nodes surrounding my sternum, and I had 6 spots in my lung. Again, you go through the few weeks of the floor falling out beneath you. I had to explain to my kids that I was going back into treatment. And it was March at this point, and enter COVID. This kind of made a whole new set of problems. The kids were home. They were at school during the day where I could just lie around and kind of watch TV and sleep and feel sick and gross, and then pick myself back up when they got home from school. You know, they were home. We were trying to homeschool. We couldn't go anywhere because not only were we all kind of isolated from COVID, but the thoughts of me getting COVID when my immune system was so low during chemo was terrifying. So it restricted me, but it also really, really restricted my family. My parents felt that they had to stay away because they were worried. My whole support system of friends and family were kind of gone, and my kids really couldn't hang out and be distracted with their friends because of it as well. The good news is that I was able still to have a plan in place. I had 3 more cycles of chemo, again in Perth, which I'm so grateful for, and then entered into a stem cell transplant. So June 1st, 2020, I went into the hospital for 3 weeks, and it was COVID. So I, at the time, was told that I couldn't have any visitors or family, and it was terrifying. I held it together as I said goodbye to my kids because they were crying, and my parents and my husband, and I walked into the hospital in no tears, and I walked to my room, and I sat down on my bed, and I just started bawling. And this wonderful social worker walked by and poked her head in, and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Oh, it's just a lot. It's a lot." And she said, "Did you not know that you can now have a visitor every other day? One person." So my husband, who is a great support system for me, was able to come every other day. And thank God for that, because it was probably the hardest 3 weeks of my life. And thank God for technology, because video timing and texting my kids all the time and my family were a godsend. I made it through my stem cell transplant flawlessly. I was there for 3 weeks. It was probably the toughest mentally, physical thing I've ever had to do, but we got through it. And it just seems like a distant past now. After the stem cell transplant, I was discharged, and I had a follow-up scan with all the hopes of being in remission, but unfortunately I was not. And when I talk about the ups and downs and the roller coasters, this is what I'm talking about. After all that, I still wasn't there. The good news is that I was able to have radiation, which I was unable before because the disease wasn't localized. And they also talked to me about something called biotherapy, or immunotherapy is the other name for it. The cool thing about immunotherapy is it's one of the newest treatments coming out, and there's new drugs coming all the time. And a lot of our cancer research funds that you guys are doing is going to research like this. Immunotherapy is a little different than chemotherapy because chemotherapy is toxic to your body. That's why you get all these terrible side effects like hair loss and nausea, extreme fatigue. Immunotherapy is where they give you this amazing drug and it targets the cancer cells, so your own immune system will fight them off. Maybe this is just my nursing background, but I think that's pretty amazing. So I had 4 weeks of radiation throughout the summer, and then I started my immunotherapy. I was supposed to be on it for a year, so 16 treatments. Unfortunately, I was only able to have 2. Roller coaster ride, like I tell you. I had an anaphylactic reaction to my second treatment and ended up with some pneumonitis and inflammation in my lung. So they were unable to continue with my treatment. When this happened, it was in November, and I was back in the hospital for a week. But the most amazing thing happened. Having my scans while they were looking at my lungs because of the damage from the chemo, they realized that my cancer hadn't changed. In fact, it hadn't grown at all. If anything, it looked smaller. And they thought that I was probably in remission. This was so unexpected and right before Christmas, so probably some of the most amazing news that I've had. And I was so, so happy, even now after all the things that have been going on the last year. I still remember coming home and telling my kids and us all crying and celebrating together. I had a repeat scan done in the new year, and sure enough, I was in full metabolic remission. And I have remained there since that day. This year will mark 3 years of remission for me. It has probably changed my life in a huge, impactful way. I probably have a level of anxiety that I didn't have before, and I probably will always continue to have that fear that it will come back. I learned some new coping mechanisms that I didn't need before, but have been a huge support to me. I've learned how important my family is, my husband, my kids, my parents, my siblings, my in-laws, and all my friends. The second thing that I had to kind of battle through is the first time I went into remission, I expected it. I didn't think for a second that I wasn't going to be there. The second time I went in, the first time I was that way, the second time I went to remission, it was hard. When you're receiving treatment, you feel like you're doing something about it. You're on a path. When you finish treatment and you have to rely and trust your body again to not let you down, it becomes very difficult and a whole new set of things to think about. Over the last 3 years, every day that passes, I feel grateful and like I'm going to truly achieve that finally and forever. We don't really say cure in blood cancers, we say remission. The second big change in my life, I would say, is my job. And this is probably one of the best parts. After I went back to work the second time, I made a life choice that I didn't want to go back to working full-time shift work anymore. I wanted to be home for Christmases and holidays. I didn't want to miss any more Jacob's hockey tournaments or Olivia's riding shows. I wanted to be home when they got off the bus, or just to be around and make supper and do all the things that a mom really wants to do, which I realized after going through that sometimes life's too short and you need to take the time to be with your family. Luckily, a job came up in the chemo room in Perth, the transfusion room, which is where I received all my chemo. So last year, I went back to school and became certified as a chemotherapy, biotherapy, oncology nurse, and now I work in there. Being able to share my story with patients, and empathy towards their experience has really humbled me as a nurse. I'm able to connect with them, I think, in a way that I wasn't able to, and that helps them advocate for themselves. I don't want you to think this is all a sad story. My life is completely full of love and happiness, and it's really highlighted those important things to me. I'm so much more than the disease I thought. I'm a mom, a wife, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a friend, and a nurse. I think it has taught me resiliency. It's taught my kids resiliency and strength, and I really truly believe as a family we're stronger because of it. To this day, I've had 25 rounds of chemo, 20 rounds of radiation, a stem cell transplant, 2 rounds of biotherapy, and I've beaten stage 4 cancer ×2. I'd like to thank the organizing committee at Relay for Life for all your hard work and for everybody here today that is going to raise as much money as they can for this important cause. I'd like to thank Mr. Peters for inviting me to speak today. When I was in the hospital for my stem cell transplant, a fellow survivor and good friend sent me a quote that I wrote down and read regularly. I will share it with you today. To regularly do that which is hard but important when it feels most uncomfortable is how warriors are born. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alicia, and also to Olivia and Jake. Like Dylan, Alicia is a fighter, and her 2 children, students Terrence and John, fought that fight with her. It is important that we celebrate the victories, but also remember the loss. Every student who registers for Relay will receive a luminary bag. These luminaries line the track outside on the day of our event. Bags are decorated in an effort to pay respect to someone who has battled cancer or to provide a message of hope to others. In the evening, as the light fades, these luminaries light the track and guide the walkers as their legs grow weary during the final hours of our event. These luminary bags are what makes walking the track special. They are a reminder of just how many people are impacted by cancer and how important it is that we are out there fighting back, that we all decide to move our feet.
Should stay were the signs I ignored. Can I help you not to hurt anymore? We saw brilliance when the world was asleep. There are things that we can have but can't keep. If they say, who cares if one more light goes out in the sky of a million stars? It flickers, flickers. Who cares when someone's time runs out? If the moment is all we are, or quicker, quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do. The reminders pull the floor from your feet. In the kitchen, and you're angry, and you should be. It's not fair. Just 'cause you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. If they say, who cares if one more light goes out in the sky of a million stars? It flickers, flickers. Who cares when someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are, or quicker, quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do. Who cares if one more light goes out in the sky of a million stars? It flickers, flickers. Who cares when someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are, or quicker, quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? I do. I do.
Who cares if one more light goes out? It is our hope that all of you do. You can do something about cancer. You have a chance to join this fight. You have the chance to raise money that helps fund research to find a cure for cancer and to aid in the care of patients. The time is now. One of our own needs you. A student just like you is not in this gym today. We aren't simply asking you to move your feet. We are asking you to move your feet for Stanistreet. For Erin. Here to speak to us today is Erin's sister, Sophie. Please welcome Sophie Stanistreet.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sophia Stanistreet, and I'm here to introduce you to my brother. Aaron Stanistreet is 42 years old and a student here at St. He is smart, funny, and athletic kid. On August 12, 2022, Aaron went for an appointment at CHEO after having COVID 3 weeks earlier and never getting better. While the rest of my family recovered, Aaron got sicker and began developing fevers. When he was taken to CHEO, they immediately began running tests, and by 3 hours after his appointment, he was diagnosed with leukemia. Over the next few days and many tests, we found out that he has acute myeloid leukemia, or AML, with monosomy 7 and the GAG2 gene mutation. This meant that he had one of the hardest to treat subtypes of leukemia there is. We were told to expect that he would be in the hospital for the next 6 months and that he had a long and difficult journey ahead of him. Aaron had 5 rounds of intense chemotherapy at CHEO and got home for visits 3 times over 7.5 months. By the end of the 6th month, chemotherapy had stopped working, and Aaron received his first failed round of chemo. After an additional round with less than perfect results, Aaron was transferred to St. Kitts Hospital in Toronto to receive a stem cell transplant. It was the last chance of curing his cancer. I was a donor match and donated over 2 million stem cells through the University Network Hospitals in Toronto, which were frozen until Aaron was strong enough to receive his transplant. On April 10, 2023, Easter Monday, Aaron received his stem cell transplant. He had spent weeks in an isolation room while we wait for his white blood cells, his neutrophils, and immune system to return, and we wait to find out if the transplant was successful. He has continued to fight as hard as ever, and as of today is doing well as his white blood cells and neutrophils continue to return. He has received over 172 transfusions of blood products, which requires over 400 donations of blood and platelets. Aaron's story is one of many, which makes Relay for Life more important than ever. More and more children are being diagnosed with AML, and money raised at events like these gives people with a cancer diagnosis hope that doctors and researchers will one day find a cure for whichever type of cancer that they have. Your donations and fundraising help real people have a second chance at life. I would like to sincerely thank the St. John's community for all of the support we've received since Aaron's battle began. We greatly appreciate all the fundraising efforts, seeing everyone in their Stanistreet strong gear, the prayer bouquets and crafts made by the Forbes family and Aaron's class, and all the meals we have received from the staff. I would also like to thank all of the staff and teachers who have supported our other brother Gabe as he has transferred from in-person to online classes so he can live as a family in Toronto while Aaron continues his treatments, and all of the teachers and staff who have supported Aaron. As we kick off Relay for Life 2023, please keep the cause and goals of Relay for Life in your mind as you fundraise. You are directly impacting and helping millions of people battling cancer. As well, please consider donating blood or stem cells if you are able. In Ontario, you can donate blood if you are 17 years or older, and join the stem cell registry if you are between the ages of 17 and 35. If you fall into this criteria, please consider looking into these options as your donation can save a life. Over 70% of people who need a stem cell transplant will not be matched with a family donor, and therefore rely on the stem cell registry. And the Canadian Blood Services is desperate for your donations of blood and plasma. Thank you all for listening to Aaron's story and all of the prayers and support my family has received, as well as your future participation in Relay for Life. Remember, you have the power to help researchers develop cures for cancer and save lives with fundraising events and donations of blood and stem cells. Thank you.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Stanistreet family. We all hope that Aaron will be able to be here in person on June 9th to join us as a survivor. At this point, we would like to take a moment to recognize any cancer survivors who have joined us today. Please stand so we can thank you for help making our relay memorable. Survivors, wearing yellow shirts, lead us on our opening lines of relay, the Survivors Victory Lap. These special guests are symbols of hope. They are the face of the fight. They remind us that cancer affects real people, and that real people can be heroic. June 9th, the day of our relay, will be Aaron Stanistreet's birthday. There'd be no better gift than a yellow t-shirt. Aaron, we believe in you.
This is not what you thought it would be. Your dreams collide with reality. You're lost in the fog, no answer inside. You can't find a pill to make it alright. What would I give to make it alright? If you ever start doubting when it's hard to keep hoping, I just want you to know that I believe in you. When you're tired of fighting,
and it feels like you're broken. I just want you to know that I believe in you. Running a race with no finish line. Now you're in the fight of your whole life. You work twice as hard to get out this far. Nobody knows the hero you are. I want you to know the hero you are. If you ever start doubting when it's hard to keep hoping, I just want you to know that I believe in you. When you're tired of fighting and you feel like you're broken, I just want you to know that I believe in you. And look how far you've gone, what you've already done. I want you to know that I believe in you. Whenever you forget, I'll say it all again. If you ever start doubting, when it's hard to keep hoping, I just want you to know that I believe in you. When you're tired of fighting and you feel like you're broken, I just want you to know that I believe in you. I believe in you.
The choice is yours. You have no idea how much of a difference you can make, how much you can help. We all know someone, we all have a reason. Move your feet, because every step you take matters. Move your feet for Stanistreet. When you walk the track, you let people like Dylan, Alicia, and Aaron know that they are not walking alone.
When you walk through the storm, hold your head high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's gold in the sky and the sweet silver song of the lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. with hope in your heart, and you never walk alone, and you never walk alone.
To conclude our assembly, I'm going to ask for one more sports theme idea. I'd like the students in the gym today to participate in a little visualization exercise with me. So I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes. I want you to picture exactly where you are right now. Picture where you are in the gym, and who's sitting next to you, and who's sitting around you. I want you to take into consideration how you're feeling. I want you to think of your routine this morning. Waking up in your own bed, grabbing some breakfast, the ride to school, your period 1 class. I want you to remember walking into the gym today and sitting exactly where you are right now. 500 Spartans sitting in silence, here, whether you want to be or not. Now I want you to imagine Aaron Stanistreet, who's not here with us. Instead, he's sitting in a hospital bed in Toronto. He's praying for the miracle that gets him into one of these seats right beside you. And now I want you to do something even harder. I want you to imagine it was you. Imagine it was you in the hospital bed. Imagine it was your parents who were spending their nights watching you sleep. Imagine praying for your own miracle. Imagine picturing your friends and classmates sitting in this very gymnasium without you. If you could ask everyone here to do one thing, I'm sure it would be to move your feet. You would want everyone here to do whatever they could to make sure that they never ended up in that bed. You can open your eyes now. Here's a really cool thing. You have that chance to do whatever you can, starting today. When you leave the gym, our lovely committee will be there with a permission form. Take the form home. Sign up for relay. Raise the money. Be a part of something special. Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Because that's what we do at St. John. We owe it to the survivors, people like Dylan and Alicia who shared their story today. And we owe it to Aaron, who couldn't be here. Move your feet for Stanistreet, because we're also lucky that we still can. Thank you very much for your attendance today and for everyone who made this possible. It's now 1:20 and 3 to go.